Friends, African literary colossus Professor Chinua Achebe, in his book written in 1983, observed that the trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely leadership. Now, several decades later, after the book was published, Nigeria is still tottering and reeling, quite literally, under the weight of leadership failures. From insecurity to unemployment to infrastructure challenges, we all know the problem that this country is still confronting on a daily basis. Now, the good news, however, is that some governors in modern day Nigeria have decided that they do not want their names to be mentioned when the problem of leadership is being discussed in Nigeria, and particularly in Southeast region where this video is spotlighting today. I would say that while some people in certain states in Nigeria might still be grumbling about the challenges of unresponsive leadership or the problems of poor governance in their regions, I do not think that people in the southeastern state of Abia State, for instance, would be sharing similar sentiments or sharing similar stories, because the present governor of Abia State, as I have been able to glean from the testimonies of the indigenes of Abia State, and some of whom are my friends, who tell me that the governor is doing quite well, that he's performing incredibly in their region. And this is something that I think needs to be celebrated as much as we criticize governors who aren't doing well or who haven't done well in the past. Also, I do not think that the people of Enugu State, between the golden ages and the golden years of 2007 all the way up to 2015, when Governor Sullivan Chime held sway in the state, I do not think that we complained about poor leadership, because Sullivan Chime was a governor who performed spectacularly well, and the legacies that he left is still profoundly visible on the soils of Enugu State today. You cannot mention his name when the problem or the trouble of leadership in Nigeria is being talked about, because his was a time of massive infrastructural revolution. But immediately he left office, there was a seismic shift from the revolutionary trend in economic development, in infrastructural development, to something almost totally different. Sullivan finished his tenure, which saw a vibrant economic and infrastructural revolution. It was immediately followed by a period of economic and infrastructure, a period of virtual economic and infrastructural dormancy. Everywhere was quiet. On the economic front, on the infrastructure front, on the development front, nothing was happening in the state. But in the background, we had a lot of noise. People were making noise in the background. The environment in Enugu State then, immediately Sullivan left office, was tumultuous with a lot of politicking, was tumultuous with a lot of propaganda, and of course 1 million billboards. Nothing was happening. Then, after 8 years of political jamboree, Providence remembered Enugu State again, and then trust before us, trust upon us. The present governor, Dr. Peter Mba, who is aggressively very aggressively addressing the problem of infrastructure, the problem of unemployment, the problem of leadership in the state. We can now see abandoned projects, abandoned government structures being rehabilitated, dilapidated structures being restructured, being facelifted, various schools in the different regions, in the different local government are being what he calls smart schools. I know this for sure because I know that one is being built in my area. So this is not something that I'm not aware of. He is aggressively transforming the state. So one can definitively say that Enugu State is finally back on track, with the incumbent governor, Dr. Peter Mba, firing relentlessly from all developmental cylinders. Now, the recent launch of Enugu Air should be the pinnacle of the accomplishment of His Excellency Dr. Peter Mba so far, for which I extend my congratulations to him and his administration. I extend my congratulations to Nigeria and Nigerians on this issue because it's a national asset. And this brings me to the nucleus of this video, which is on the critical question of sustainability and succession. How do we sustain these beautiful accomplishments? How do we sustain these legacies when His Excellency Dr. Peter Mba must have finished his term and finished his second term, which I am almost confident he's going to win his second term, judging from the pace of development that he is pursuing. He's engineering the state. So who takes over from him when he's done? This question seems premature, but it is very vital because this is just at the heart of the problem of Nigeria. We have a paradoxical situation whereby sometimes nature, providence, blesses us with a good leader, and who comes in and transforms the state, transforms the country. And then in the next election, somebody from nowhere comes in and then makes a total mess of the whole thing. So we see ourselves, like His Excellency President Obasanjo said, going one step forward and two steps backward. So how do we deal with the question of sustainability and sustenance? I know that under Nigerian constitution, a governor is limited to just 2 terms, but I want to make this bold proposal. Our constitution is largely borrowed from the West and Europe, and the question is it possible that, having regard to our peculiar circumstances in this country, can we not evolve a homegrown constitutional innovation whereby a leader, a governor who performs exceptionally well, who performs extraordinarily well, is not only allowed to remain in office for first term, but is allowed to seek re-election for second term and third term, respectively? And then evolve also a constitutional innovation, a homegrown constitutional innovation, whereby governors who perform abysmally are barred from seeking re-election for a second term. I say this very advisedly and very upon mature reflection, because this tugs at the very heart of Nigerian problem. We need to cut off ineffectual leadership and sustain effectual and efficient leadership for things to last. When you look at countries like Dubai or countries like some of these countries in Middle East and all these other countries that have monarchical system of government, they have a system of sustained development. Things continue. I'm not suggesting that we should practice that system. What I'm saying is that we can borrow 1 or 2 things from there. if we have a good leader, we can evolve a constitutional mechanism whereby such a good leader is allowed to stay for a little longer. And if we have somebody who is clearly nonchalant and who is clearly unresponsive to the needs of the people, we shouldn't allow him to stay there for much longer. People have it doesn't mean that they are bad people. It simply means that they are not just temperamentally suited for that office. So in Nigeria, good leadership is a scarce commodity. And I believe that we can definitely fashion a novel constitutional mechanism that rewards good leadership and at the same time disincentivizes bad leadership. We in this country should do whatever it takes to encourage good leaders, because good leaders are like precious stones. They're like rare gems. Finding them can be quite treacherous and tasking. So when we do find them, ultimately, I would think that the right thing to do is to make sure that we keep them around with us for much longer. Thank you very much.